Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and apply to use our money when you're trading live for just the process of 120 bucks. Today, we're going to be doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Super exciting news. We introduced a new platform for you guys, so you never, ever have to pay for a platform again. So those of you guys that use NinjaTrader or are practicing with NinjaTrader, you guys never have to pay for it ever again. So I'm going to be doing a live soon for you guys on the English side. I just did it on the Portuguese and the Spanish side to go ahead and have you guys use that other platform, which is completely free. Save you guys $1,100. Overall this week, the banks and tech helped the U.S. market go higher on Monday. More than anything, Boeing and Facebook dragged investors. Other than that, a lot of people on Monday were looking towards the Fed meeting. And obviously, there was an affirmation to its commitment to a patient monetary policy. S&P 500 and the NASDAQ held 5-month highs on Tuesday, as investors did hope that the Fed kind of calmed down with the monetary tightening. And obviously there were some mixed reports as well between US and China talks. On Wednesday, there was a boost from the interest rate news fades. The Dow moved up over 200 points on Thursday. And then on Friday, the main indexes went up between 1.8 to 2.5% on Friday. New manufacturing data was affected on Friday from the USA and also the European Union. It led to an inverted yield curve. If you guys remember what that means, when the short-term interest rates and the bond yields, the treasury bonds, cross the higher ones, that means if the short-term goes higher than the long-term ones, then that's generally an indicator of recession, and they have officially crossed. So what I've been talking about for about 4 or 5 years, we're probably about a year or two away now of that. On Friday, the main U.S. indexes, as I told you, the results and the Dow dipped also 400 points. The U.S. markets are bracing for what may be the first U.S. profit decline in 2016. Investors, a lot of them are saying that Q1 may not mark the lowest point for 2019 earnings. So definitely not going to continue to be a great year. Overall for the week, the Dow went down 1.36%. It was at 25,502. The S&P 500 went down 0.75% at 2,800. And the NASDAQ went down 0.60% at 7,642. In overseas market news, the Saudi Arabia officially elevated to an emerging market. It's going to steer billions of dollars into the country's stock market, as well as it's trying to start diversifying away from oil. If you guys remember the huge news that they wanted to make that new city that's going to be the most glorious technological city in the world, kind of like the Silicon Valley of Saudi Arabia. That's probably going to give them a boost for that as well. Their stock exchange goes near a 4-year high, and it also follows an inclusion into the FTSE Russell's Emerging Market Index this week. Latin American stocks surged on Monday. Brazil is scaling new highs, passing quite a bit what it had before. Argentinian shares jumped 3%, and the regional currencies climbed as well ahead of the Fed Reserve's decision to halt rate hikes. European markets overall lower for the week. The Istanbul, the Turkey stock exchange, went down by 3.47%, which was the biggest. The biggest loser in the Latin American markets was the Bovespa in Brazil at 5.76%. And the winner was the Mexican exchange, the Colombian, where we're at right now, my beautiful country of Colombia, not mine, but you guys should definitely visit, went up 1.8%. In the African and Middle Eastern markets, they were mixed, and also Asian markets are mostly higher, with the Philippines being the highest winner at 2.76%. Shout out to all our traders in the Philippines. Dominic, take care of those boys for me and girls. In Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news, not a lot of news this week. Overall, the market went up 3.12% at 3,984.57. Still waiting for that amazing recovery that they talked about, those analysts, before the year was over. Financial news on Wednesday, Fed brought an end to the tightening of monetary policy after 3 years. We all know that Trump was happy about that. Remember that I'm never going to get political on the show, whether you love the right, hate the left, hate the right, love the left. All I do is present the information so you guys can start to understand the information a little bit better. Overall, we saw they said that they were going to stop the monetary tightening due to signs of an economic slowdown, also saying that they're going to halt the steady decline of the balance sheet in September of this year. And also they're saying that the economy, the reason why they're doing this is because there's signs that the U.S. economy is rapidly losing momentum, predicting inflation is going to rise, but miss their target by 2% for another year, despite the rising wages, and also they expect unemployment to increase. As of June 2018, global corporate and government debt, household debt as well, went up to $178 trillion. It surged. It's a 50% increase since this financial crisis more than a decade ago. And of that amount, $62.4 trillion was borrowed by governments. So if I do the math on that, 35% of that alone is just from the governments. And you guys know what happens when you rack up your credit cards and you can't pay your bills, right? But the United States can never go bankrupt, just like the English Empire, the Roman Empire could never go away either, right? To strengthen the financial system, the French government is forcing banks to raise their capital buffers. There's lower manufacturing reports than expected in U.S. and Europe. That's part of what helped the 3-month Treasury and the 10-year note to invert. And it's the first time since 2007 a leading indicator for a recession, which is the inversion. So we haven't had that indicator since 2007. Remember, we had that huge crisis in 2008 and 9. U.S. federal government ran a budget deficit of $234 billion in February, even though spending rose 8% while receipts climbed 7%. It's wider than the $250 billion from February 2018. And as I mentioned to you guys, the yields, the 3-month now is at 2.45. The 2-year now is at 2.33. So officially crossed, and the other ones are starting to narrow, continuing to narrow as well. In commodities, U.S. crude went up 0.96%. It reached 58.97. International Brent this week went up 0.10% to 67.07. That was stopped by a stronger dollar. Crude prices reached their high for 2019 on Tuesday. Palladium, if you guys remember, if you guys know anything about cars, there's a little box on the bottom, right, kind of in the middle. It's called a catalytic converter. That's what they mostly use palladium for. It's other uses as well, but that's what it's popular for. Surged past 1,600 for the first time, reaching a record high. It's a 7-session rally, and expectations of strained supplies basically allowed it to continue to increase. Platinum also soared by 3%. Copper prices jumped to their highest in 8 months on Tuesday, propelled by a softer USD after the Fed decision. And precious metals also higher this week. Gold went up 0.90 to 1334, 1,314. Silver went up 0.91, went up to 1551. In political news, Kazakhstan's President Nursultan Nazarbayev, at the age of 78, has resigned. He's the only leader of the oil-rich country ever since it emerged from the Soviet Union beginning in 1989. Leaders of the U.S. Democratic Party want to reform the federal government to abolish the Electoral College. If you guys don't know what that is, basically there's a popular vote, which is just the number of people, and then there's an Electoral College, which depends on the populations in the states. So if you guys remember in Trump, the last election, he actually lost the popular vote, but he won the Electoral College. That's why the Democrats, the left, essentially wants to cancel it, because they're saying that there's a better opportunity for them to win if that doesn't exist. They also want to expand the size of the Supreme Court, add a new state, which is the District of Columbia, which is if you guys don't know, the District of Columbia, it's its own special administrative unit. And also they want to lower the voting age to 16. Special Counsel Mueller delivered his report to the Attorney General William Barr. He's investigated whether the Trump campaign aided Russian efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. I don't see Trump getting in handcuffs at any time soon, so maybe there's probably not anything to find. A lot of the stuff in that report is actually private, so we'll see if they actually make it public. As of February, the yellow vest protesters in France shaved off 0.20% off economic growth since it began 18 weeks ago. There was also reports that the government is going to launch the military against them. So always an opportunity. We should always try to protect ourselves against government. U.S. manufacturing activity unexpectedly slowed in March, another troubling sign for the economy. And the Bank of England says that now the economy is 2% smaller than if the UK would have stayed in the EU. You guys probably would have paid more taxes, though. Economic output lost since the referendum in 2016, and also worth about $1 billion per week. In corporate news, to diversify revenue sources, Google is trying to revolutionize the $130 billion gaming industry, which is dominated by titans like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Nintendo is also introducing a streaming platform similar to Netflix. Tencent, the Facebook of China, essentially the giant, is reporting a 32% drop in net profit for Q4 in 2018. And in the trade news, the proposed summit between United States President Trump and the leader of China, Xi Jinping, is going to, the talk that they were supposed to have to end the trade war, which was originally targeted for March, is now being pushed back to June. Remember that China and US have the two largest economies in the world. Japan's exports fall for the third straight month in February. Bank of Japan is offering more stimulus to temper effects of the slowing external demand and trade frictions. Exports went down for 1.2% from year to year, following a sharp 8.4% from year to year decrease in January. So not very good for Japan. JP Morgan CEO Dimon says Trump's love of tariffs may just pay off. It's a good negotiating strategy that might have worked, he says. And technology industry players are saying that 5G is going to be 100 times faster than 4G, and a huge number of devices are going to be able to connect to the network simultaneously. For example, cars that are driving autonomously are going to be able to talk to each other. So, hey, don't hit my bumper. I got you, bro. So, AI and everything. In investment news, Germany is the world's fourth largest economy and Europe's largest. They're going to have a major shift in policy. They're going to pass legislation in 2019 that's going to create a state-owned fund, and the idea is to protect the key firms from takeovers by Chinese and other foreign entities. Lyft, the competition to Uber, is targeting a valuation of up to $23 billion in its IPO. If you guys don't know what IPO means, initial public offering, the first time a company actually goes public. That could obviously change a little bit when they first start trading. They're going to be listed later this month on the NASDAQ. They announced, plans earlier this month to be listed on the NASDAQ. Two of the world's top payment firms are coming together in a $43 billion deal. A company called FIS is buying a company called WorldPay. Combined, they're going to have a revenue of $12 billion. And the European Union on Wednesday ordered Google to pay 1.49 billion euros, or another 1.69 billion. They've already been fined $7.61 billion. They're saying that they're stifling the competition with the online advertisement sector. And the EU's competition commissioner, Margrethe Vestager, I know I said it in Spanish, but it's probably a little bit more French, right? Vestager is saying, she's probably not even French, but you guys understand me. I can't say her last name. Said that the Google prevented rivals from being able to compete and innovate fairly. In international events, Brazil's President Bolsonaro is meeting the U.S. president in a U.S. visit that's going to aim at boosting economic, political, and military cooperation. They're the two largest economies in the Americas, meaning, North America and South America, U.S. being the largest in the world, Brazil being the 9th largest economy in the world. You just think, if the United States has 323-ish million people, Brazil has about 210-ish million people. Now, Germany, with a population of, I'm going to look this up so make sure I get this right. Population, Germany. Let's see. Germany has about a population of 83 million people. So 83 million, fourth largest economy in the world. Brazil, 223 million people, 9th largest in the world. That's what corruption and bureaucracy and taxes do to an economy. So you guys can really see the difference. U.S. makes biggest diplomatic push in Latin America in trying to oust President Maduro. They are starting to witness another crisis, however, with the rebels starting to strengthen on the Colombian and Venezuelan side of the border. Iranian leaders announced construction of 2 new nuclear reactors being built in conjunction with Russia. It remains unclear if the United States is going to view this as crossing the line after they got out of the deal, the nuclear accord in 2018. It may still affect the economic sanction waivers that the U.S. was considering. And then the unusual facts this week, German banking giant Deutsche Bank, the largest bank in Germany, reportedly loaned over $2 billion to Donald Trump over the last 2 decades, despite multiple financial issues. They say that Trump exaggerated his wealth and they helped secure finance for a lot of high-end property developments before the 2016 election. And a CNN poll said that 71% of Americans say that the U.S. economy is actually in good shape. If you guys don't know, if you ever put on the TV, I never watch TV because I feel that they're reporting what they want you to believe, not what the actual facts are. That's why I like to do this program, right? And I've gotten the feedback from you guys. I don't want to get political. But CNN, if you ever watch it, is always Trump is horrible, Trump is horrible, Trump is horrible. So they did a poll, and their followers essentially say that 71% of the Americans actually say that the U.S. economy is in good shape, which is surprising because most of the followers of CNN's programs are supposed to be anti-Trump. It's the best rating during Trump's presidency by 2 points, saying that the majority give President Trump positive reviews of handling the economy. It's about 51%. And other than that, representatives of America's clean energy firms are withholding support for the Democratic climate fighting plan, the Green New Deal. They're saying that they're calling it too unrealistic, and also it's too politically divisive for an industry keen to growing across the country. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We'll see you next week.